Family and you do. Strike gold with the Playway Golden Draw. Win 32-1 when the gold ball calls. Plus win 85, 110, and 135-1 for the Mega Ultra and Mega Extreme draws. Play and win this Christmas. Players must be 18 years and over. Please play responsibly.
More than 2,000 years ago, the light of a miraculous star brought hope, announcing the birth of Jesus. This Christmas, we can renew that hope by being the star that illuminates others through our good deeds. Visit lighttheworld.org and find simple ideas on how to live the true spirit of Christmas. Light the world with love and be a light in the lives of others.
Christmas, the most wonderful time of the year. We wish to keep you and your family safe, healthy, and happy for the holidays with our safety tips.
Consider cooking and delivering a meal to a neighbor or friend who may be alone. Plan a virtual holiday and eat all together via Zoom.
Together, let's make Christmas merry again. This Christmas safety tip is courtesy
Amplia. Don't wish it, just win it.
Red flag. She always wants to see your phone.
But babe, your camera takes better selfies.
Red flag. He changes the channel on your favorite movie. Hey, let's watch the big game instead. Wish you had more tech devices this Christmas? Green flag. Amplia is there for you. This Christmas, don't wish it, win it. Sign up for Amplia Double or Triple Play this season and get free internet for 3 months and more. Plus, get a chance to win a $25,000 home tech makeover, 1 year free service, and $10,000 in prizes. Call 800-HOME or visit amplia.co.tt for details. Amplia, powered by B-Mobile.
Hello world. Hello world. This is www.i95.5fm.com, Trinidad.
This Sunday on episode 51 of Ion Dependency from 6:15 p.m. Reality radio at its best.
Has this ever happened to your pet?
My dog knew no fear except for fireworks. And all I could do was just helplessly hug my dog. And she vomited all over. She wouldn't stop trembling. And then one day later, I woke up to find her dead.
This Sunday, Eye on Dependency is dedicated to the memories of animals lost to firework noise. You'll hear live and recorded testimonies of the pain and suffering that animals and humans endure around this time of year. You paid close attention to them last Sunday, and now Inspector McKenzie and Fire Officers R. June and Rogers are back to explain the regulations around the sale and use of fireworks. How can we prevent the harm associated with these deadly explosives? You don't want to miss Eye on Dependency this Sunday from 6:15 p.m. Listen live on I95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
This is Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Sundays at 6:15 p.m. on the most influential name in radio, I95.5 FM.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha.
Reality radio at its best, where every life is a biography.
Sundays at 10 a.m., exclusively on I95.5 FM.
And broadcast live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Independency, right here on I95.5 FM, live on the Independency Facebook page and YouTube channel. We pardon the error in the promo. We are here live this evening, and we are not going to slow it down. Just like what we are going to discuss is going to be fast and furious because we have the gentleman online already with us. You heard from Inspector Steve McKenzie, Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Lalchan Arjun and Fire Sub Officer Rogers. They were here last week. You really were enthralled by what they had to say. Really interesting. And this Sunday will be no different. They will get deeper into the conversation. But first, we will have 2 demonstrations again via video. Fire safety. I think Mr. Rogers described it as keyless burglar proof, but he will explain further. And then Mr. Arjun also has some really important safety demos to show you for your home, like how to use a fire extinguisher, the smoke alarm, and different types of fire extinguishers, how to use them, class A, B, C, D, and K fire extinguishers. Never knew it had so many classes of fire extinguishers. And also your exit burglar proofing, emergency windows, etc. We're going to show you all of that. However, as we explained to the gentlemen, we are going to... Gentlemen, are you there? Good evening to you all.
Good afternoon, good afternoon.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. So, and we have all of them up on screen now. Thank you so much. Now, gentlemen, as we discussed, we are going to hear from a couple members of the public, and you all are going to take some notes, of course, and record how you can assist them, what advice you can give to them. We'll also be speaking with Dr. Nicole Straker. She's a vet. And Natasha will tell us more about Dr. Straker. Good evening, Natasha.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening, Garth, and good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and our guests who have joined us via video, Inspector Mackenzie and Fire Officers Arjun and Rogers. And again, we wanted to focus a little bit more on the fireworks issue, and as such, we have 2 members of the public, as Garth said, to relate their experience. And as well, Dr. Nicole Straker, who is a veterinarian, and she is going to share some information about how pet parents or owners can protect their pets from firework noise. I mean, and we know it's difficult to do, but there are things that you can do to at least keep them comfortable for the duration of the fireworks. So, and then when we finish with that, we will switch back to the gentleman on video and talk a little bit more about just general safety around this time of year, especially in the home.
And of course, they'll speak to the rules and regulations surrounding the use and ownership of fireworks.
Yes.
And also, it's very important to know, people, that, you know, we really, in all our enjoyment with fireworks and so on, you know, sometimes when somebody set up a scratch bomb next to you or close to you, or fireworks, how it startles you and how it's loud. Well, picture an animal hears that 10 times louder than we do. Maybe up to 20 times possibly, the vet will tell us. But it's really, you know, they have a keen sense of hearing as well. So this is why, and a lot of people have been really, really complaining around this time. And what do? Let's hear what they have to say. So we have
Amit on the line.
Amit on the line.
Hi, good evening, Amit.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. I was hoping to share the little voice note that you shared for the Venus Doggess of Love campaign before we brought you on the line, but nevertheless, tell us very briefly about what happened to your dog, Nico.
Well, she was...
Could you could speak up a bit, please, sir? Thank you.
Yes. She was very much pregnant. This was on New Year's night, New Year's Eve, and there were fireworks going off everywhere. I mean, it was incessant. And she was a very sensitive dog, and her pups were due actually the following week. And what happened was she ended up going into labor, and while having her pups, she suffered a heart attack and she died. And this was directly a result of the fireworks and the acute stress it caused on her.
Right. And had you been aware that that she was sensitive to fireworks, and had you taken any precautions, if any, to
Yes.
isolate her. Yeah.
Yes, she was inside in the quietest room I could find.
Yeah.
I was not. It was not advised to sedate her because of her, her condition.
Yeah.
And so I tried to make her as comfortable as I could. I was there throughout the entire night, right next to her, and it was not enough.
Did you take any action after this, or did you attempt to find out where the fireworks were coming from, or have you done any other form of action or gathered any information about how this could be prevented?
Well, I have been looking into the laws and the legislation regarding the use of fireworks in Trinidad. A lot of it is very ambiguous. For example, a lot of it is very ambiguous. For example, the law as it regards selling of fireworks to the general public,
Yeah.
and whether or not the general public needs a license to use fireworks.
Yeah.
I could not find that information.
Right.
Could we play this video? D?
Yeah, short man, if you could play number, I think
D.
D, yeah, D. But before you do that, short man, let me just ask Amit what that has done in terms of your relationship with pets and going forward. I mean, does this encourage you to have pets? Do you still have other dogs?
I have 5 currently, 4 of which are formerly strays.
Rescues.
And every year for Diwali, every year for New Year's, it's the same thing, and they're all wrapped to my legs. I've had to sedate them in the past. A couple of them are, they're not as sensitive, but it still affects them, more than it should, more than they should have to endure.
Yep, agreed. All right, well, thank you very much, Amit, for sharing that. We're going to share the voice note that you left as well after you leave. But thank you very much for sharing and for the work that you're doing to bring some clarity and harmony to the legislation governing this fireworks.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. And if you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. As usual, we have, as we promised, we have Inspector Steve McKenzie of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Lalchan Arjun, and of course, Fire Sub-Officer Rogers. You can join us live on the Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel, and let's have this conversation this evening. We could take some, we're going to call Dr. Nicole Straker.
We can call Venus now. She said she's available, so you can call Venus now. This is another young woman whose dog died as a result of fireworks, and maybe while we're getting her on the line, we can play video B. Shortman, please.
Video B.
On Diwali night 2021, one of the holiest nights to the Hindu community, my beautiful German Shepherd, Cora, she was suffering. My dog knew no fear, except for fireworks. And every year of the 8 years that she spent her life with me, she would be reduced to a ball of terror and pain because of these fireworks. And every year, I would take her into my bathroom and hug her and let her know she's safe. But there's no way I could block out those sounds. But what made it worse this year is that she was already ill and she was already weak. And the stress of these fireworks, even after trying to explain to the neighbors multiple times, there are old people in the house, there are animals who are afraid. In fact, they looked at their own pets and would just continue setting off these things. And all I could do, they just helplessly hug my dog. and she vomited all over. She was so scared, she wouldn't stop trembling. And then one day later, I woke up to find her dead. No hope at all of recovery. Nothing I could do. No way I could save her.
Right now, Venus, good evening. Good evening, Venus.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. Thank you so much for sharing that very, moving testimony about Cora. Tell us a little bit about how her passing affected you.
Honestly, I don't think I've recovered completely. All I've been able to do over the last 2 months since she's died is just block it out as much as I can and focus on working with Venus Daughters of Love on their mission to ban these fireworks.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're robbing so many pet owners that extra special few precious moments of happiness with their beloved pets. And not just pets, but people as well. I suffer from migraines, and I've had pictures posted on my Instagram just to show the effects of what happens when a migraine sufferer has to experience this near endless night of horror of fireworks.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
I've made reports to the police, and they've done their best. They honestly have done their best. But unfortunately, it's not enough, because I am so sorry to say this, but our society does not care or respect each other's individual needs. They just see you as someone who is like, oh, she's being way too fussy, or oh, he's just wasting time, just want attention. No, that's not right.
Yeah.
Each of us are individual human beings, and the animals that we care and love for each have their own individual needs. It is not much to ask to, there are so many beautiful, extraordinary ways to celebrate a holiday. There are so many ways you can enjoy the lights and the pomp and the grandeur. Why does it need to be something that sounds like a war zone? Why? You know where I'm coming from?
Yes, of course. I myself am baffled by the need for, that kind of experience. And I agree with you that people just generally have very little regard for animals as it is. And especially...
The horrendous thing is that when confronted with their behavior, you're like, well, you're just jealous. Oh, I just having a great time. My animal can handle it. Yours can't because it's so spoiled. Again, where's the respect for individuality? Where's the respect for each other?
Yeah.
How can you possibly look at another being in suffering, whether be it man or animal, and be like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter to me as long as I enjoy myself? How can you in good conscience do this? How can you know that an animal is dying? How? And not be like, okay, well, I'll take a step back, or I will, I don't need to do this right now. Because Cora was already dying that entire Diwali week. And I promised myself I wouldn't cry during this call, but I can't help myself because she was suffering. And I tried to get to the vet in time, but they're human too. They can't reach in time. And one night I had with my beautiful dog, and the next morning she's gone. My last memory of her is her trembling in fear and pain, of her throwing up everywhere, of her looking at me so lost. I could only imagine what she was thinking.
I know.
And all I ask is, we live in an age of glorious technology. We live in an age where anything is possible. Please, ban loud fireworks. Do whatever it takes, because it is not necessary for human survival. It is not necessary for us to do anything at all. It is a luxury, and a luxury that does not need to exist anymore.
Unfortunately, Venus, it's a luxury that a lot of people are willing to spend money on, and that people make a lot of money from.
In that case, that is why I had made a Facebook post asking Fire One Fireworks, because their marketing is so impeccable. Saying, you know what, you don't need to, I'm not asking for you to close. I'm not asking for you to abandon your livelihood. But please consider that there are soft, there are less loud versions of fireworks to be used. I mean, there's an entire town in Italy dedicated to silent fireworks. And even if that's not possible, at least, license it to a point where it can only be used at public venues. That is not within residential areas. Like, for example, San Fernando Hill.
Yeah.
Or up in the northern range. Something like that.
Agreed.
They could still enjoy the beauty and the majesty of fires. Because, obviously they're beautiful. But they're not for everyone to use. Guns are they're useful, they protect people, but at the same time, not everyone has the mental capacity to own one.
Correct.
Not anyone can be trusted to own and use one responsibly. So please tell me why, that with fireworks especially, that anyone from the age of 18 and over, which is not really saying much for your decision making, are allowed to use this.
Good question, and we hope the police officer and fire officers that we have on the line will answer that for us. Venus, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Natasha.
Please keep listening and continue your advocacy and your work behind the scenes.
I will, 100%. And to the fire officer and the police officer that are with us, I want to say thank you so much, because citizens, animal-loving citizens feel as if we are not heard. We feel as if we are not being paid attention to in any sort of way or taken seriously for that matter. Because I've actually heard officers say, oh, they're just some crazy animal-loving freak,
Yes.
Like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
You are dedicated, you are sworn to protect our society and every living being in it. But honestly speaking, knowing that we have such spectacular examples of our own countries, people who are sworn to uphold and protect our laws here with us, it means so much to know that they are listening and they are attempting to make a difference. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone involved in this program right now.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
You know what? I even read something from Rex Chokolingo today, who said to that even the birds are affected.
Yes,
tremendously. Wildlife
well.
Is affected tremendously, and when the birds fly in fright, and the lights, the fireworks stop, they end up in sudden darkness. They crash into houses and
they do.
towers and.
They do. I've had to pick up little bird corpses off my garage roof.
Right. Yep.
Okay, Venus, thanks a lot.
Thank
you very much, right?
Thank you so much for
Hang in there.
Okay.
Bye-bye. If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and we have our security personnel online with us this evening.
Yep.
Fire officer and police officer, fire officers Rogers and Arjun, and Inspector Mackenzie, and they are going to respond to all they're hearing in a while. Thank you very much again. If you can join us for some of these demonstrations on Facebook and YouTube, so that it's unfortunate that we understand Dependency. Our program is a road less traveled. It's not one of those programs that we deal with the human interest. We deal with fixing our society, and I don't think it's something that most of our nationals really interested in. We want to continue as we go in. I know that it's hard to switch gears But having Natasha and I lived and worked in Canada for 8 years. Natasha and I have traveled to the UK, US, and Canada, and we like to use these countries as examples, right? Well, I could tell you, in no community, you can have fireworks going off willy-nilly by little children and adults, and they not get arrested. They will get arrested.
Or fined, if not.
And fined. And once animals start to die because of it, Papa, they may even go so far as to ban the fireworks. That's how serious it is. But again, this is Trinidad and Tobago, country we're proud of, right? So
let's call Dr. Straker, and before we bring her on the line, let's play video. F. Shortman, stop the noise video.
I have a dog that was rescued from the waterfall at Argyle in Tobago, and she's always been frightened of loud bangs, as who knows what she went through when she was living there. However, fireworks take it to a whole new level. Since the event of all the fireworks last week, my poor dog has been shaking constantly. It's only been today, 1 week later, that she's actually ventured out of the house. Even so, she is so scared still. It's dreadful to watch her suffering, shivering, shaking, trembling, salivating, just because of these loud bangs. And what for? Why do fireworks have to make such a loud noise? There are plenty of fireworks available without sound. Why are they not made mandatory? Do we really want to torture our poor animals like this? I have a dog that was rescued from the waterfall at...
That was another contribution to the Have Compassion campaign by Venus Doggess of Love. And that was from a person living in the UK, obviously, with a Tobago rescue, which are incidentally very popular. So I'll plug the Adopt Don't Shop mantra. And we have Dr. Nicole Strick on the line. Good evening, Doc.
Hello.
Hi, good evening, Dr.
Good
Stricker.
evening. Hi.
Thank you for joining us. We just wanted to get a sense from you as we are talking about the issue of fireworks, to give persons who own pets some advice as to how they can keep their pets safe and comfortable in as much as they can.
Okay. So during fireworks, and not every dog necessarily is going to be affected by fireworks, but there are a large majority of dogs that are quite anxious about fireworks and loud noises in general.
Yeah.
So there are important things to you, especially around this time, to do. One is securing your pet, making sure your pet is secured, whether it's within your yard or preferably within your house. If you know that dog is particularly prone to having anxiety around loud noises and fireworks. Keeping them in your house, one, it reduces the amount of sounds that they hear, and it's also a bit of a more secure environment, especially if you're not sure how the dog would react, because some dogs, they try to scale the fence, get out the yard, lose their chain. So that adds an added level of security for you and your dog. Another important thing would be to create a safe haven for your dog. And basically what a safe haven is an area in your home or even outside of your home that your dog goes to when it feels uncomfortable or anxious about any situation. And this generally is the area, nothing bad happens to the dog in this area, whether it's a kennel or under a chair in your house, under your bed, so you put bedding, you put lots of toys, lots of food, treats, water, and it's important for you to exercise use of this area, not only when your dog is feeling anxious, but to encourage them to use the area at other times so that they themselves develop a positive association with a particular area in their home.
Mm.
Right?
Yep.
In some cases, playing another sound helps as well. So if you're expecting fireworks, maybe starting to play some classical music just in the background, so it kind of drowns out the noise of the fireworks. And so the dog may not react nearly as much. Although some dogs may react still, it does help to drown out the noise a bit. Other things you may be able to do include, for some dogs, medication really is necessary to just help calm them down. There are pheromones, and there are also supplements, calming supplements that can be purchased over the counter online, whether you shop on Amazon or in pet stores locally. You should be able to find some of those things.
And ideally, those medications should be prescribed by a vet, or can people?
So there are medications that your veterinarian can prescribe as well. So I am a veterinary behaviorist. So if I do a consultation with someone and the animal does in fact have a phobia of fireworks and loud noises, I can put them on anti-anxiety medication to help reduce the stress around those times. There are sedatives that vets also use, and it does not necessarily work for all animals, but there are some that it works for, so clients generally stock up on those sedatives around the time of fireworks as well.
Yeah. I've heard of something called thunder jackets. Could you explain what that is and how that helps?
So the thunder jacket is essentially a pressure wrap that is applied that's applied to the dog, and it basically the pressure. I guess it mimics hugging, but it's very calming for them. It doesn't work for all dogs. It's not a one size fits all situation, but it does, for some dogs it does help them feel better during the anxiety moment. Yeah.
And could you tell us the same procedures that you would go through for dogs? Would you do the same for cats or birds, or is there a different protocol for the different species?
So with different, you can do similar things for all species. Not all species manifest similarly when they're anxious about fireworks, and people tend to notice dogs a lot more because, they're crying, they're howling, they're pacing, they're trying to climb up the walls. A lot of times cats are similarly anxious, but they will just go and hide somewhere. But similar, you can create a safe haven for your cat. You can make sure that you do bring all your cats indoors. Or even if you have parrots, you can put your parrots indoors into a dark room. You can play music, so it can drown out the sound of that. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought, but yes.
Same protocols apply. Just find a quiet, dark space generally, and make sure that the animal feels safe and is medicated if need be, I guess.
Yes, if it's necessary.
All right. Well, thank you. Unless you had anything else to add, Dr. Straker, did you?
No, I think a lot of people generally, you should be aware of your animal during this time. A lot of people don't actually notice that their animals are anxious about fireworks, and they may only notice when it escalates into self-harming behavior and so on.
Yeah.
So things you can observe in your pet just to make sure that, they're okay. If they're anxious, they might be excessively licking, excessively drooling, probably not interested in food. So all of these things, if you notice that your pets are anxious around whether it's loud noises or fireworks, you should have a chat to your vet about how you can help your animal cope a bit better in these circumstances.
Yes.
All right, Doctor. Thank you so
much
for your time.
Thank you for having me. Have a great evening, guys.
You too.
All right.
Right, folks. So we take a quick break, short one, and when we come back, we speak with Inspector Steve McKenzie Fire Officer Rogers and Arjun. And here, I know they've been taking notes, so they will respond to what they heard. And to those of you who joined us on YouTube, thank you very much. And also on Facebook, thank you so much, because we have some demonstrations for you as well from the fire officers. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back. Stay right there.
This is reality radio at its best. Eye on Dependency on I-95.5 FM.
As we are in the holiday season, here are some fire safety tips to safeguard your loved ones and home. Always use proper holders or receptacles to secure your candles. Maintain 2 ways in and out of your home. Flammables, household chemicals, and cleaning agents should be stored separately. When cooking, stoves are not to be left unattended for prolonged periods. All gas cylinders must be properly connected and hose clips secured tightly to avoid gas leaks. Family members must be aware of your evacuation procedures, and the muster point must be identified. Under no circumstances should you re-enter your home in the event of a fire. Remember, fire safety begins with you.
Go, Sona. I come in. And don't give me no attitude there.
You have Shiana manners, boy. I wish I had your touch, boy.
You have to groom them. First, you have to target them. Scope them out. See if they have low self-esteem. Family problems, you know? Then you move in and gain the trust.
I like your glasses.
After that, you feel a need. Some of them like nice things like fancy phones, hairdos, clothes, food. Have ones who only looking for somebody to care and listen to their problems. You feel me? What's important though, you have to isolate them from the people. Let them believe it's all about you and them.
I care about you.
Then you get through.
Nice, nice.
Look one right there. Try thing now.
A message from the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Hi, I'm Peter Stoley. I'm a Deputy Chief with the Toronto Police Service. You're listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and thank you for joining us if you're with us live on Facebook or YouTube or on I-95.5 FM.
And we will try our best to keep this part compact so we can take some calls from the public as well, you members of the public.
Yes.
We have Margaret wanted to make a contribution, so we try our best to ask the well, let's go straight to Inspector Steve McKenzie.
Yep.
Inspector, good evening to you, and thank you, gentlemen, very much for your patience. I know you would have sat there and listened to the contributions from the people that you spoke with. Inspector, your thoughts.
Good afternoon, God. Good afternoon, Natasha, Mr. Rogers, and Mr. June. Your viewing and listening public. Pleasant good afternoon, and season's greetings to all. Yes, I listened attentively to Mr. Amit, Ms. Venus, and Dr. Straker on their contributions. And much of it has to do with law enforcement, or should I say sometimes what we can do as police officers in terms of enforcing aspects of the law. I want to start by making the point that as police officers, what we do is enforce and uphold law. We do not create law. And I remember, if I remember clearly, I think it's Ms. Venus was alluding to the point where they were making representations so that some aspects of the law in relation to fireworks safety, or fireworks, should I say, be changed. Only if and when those legislations are changed, then can police officers treat with issues of fireworks differently. So fireworks on its own, or possession of fireworks on its own, is not illegal. A person can have firework on his person. A person can discharge or use fireworks. There are laws in place, and there are two main pieces of legislation that govern the use sale and transportation of fireworks. One being the Explosives Act, which deals mainly with the control aspects of the firework. And then there's the Summary Offences Act that deals with, for the most part, the use of the firework.
Right.
So Mr. Amrit would have started by saying he is a bit dazed in relation to the selling to the general public. Under the Explosive Act, it treats with information or laws governing the sale of the firework by wholesalers and retailers. And some basic information that we should all know in relation to that sale is that fireworks should be only sold by authorized dealers. Authorized. So unless, of course, you are authorized dealer, you should not pop your trunk, obtain fireworks, or stand on the side of the road, obtain fireworks, and sell. If you do, you can be charged, and the offense or the penalty for such an act amounts to, I'll get it, I can't recall right now. But there's a fine for
a considerable sum of money. And who is the body or agency that issues that authorization?
Okay, so you apply to be a dealer. In terms of the role of the police, because I want to deal with the role of the police.
Yeah.
The role of the police in this regard is if you're a dealer or wholesaler, we have a responsibility to issue permits as it relates to the transportation of certain amounts of fireworks. So if you have 5 pounds or more, you have to have permits. If you are a wholesaler and you store fireworks, you have to have some books that manage the in and out movement of the fireworks. You have to have records of the movement. And of course, as police officers, once your business is in operation, we can visit those licensed premises and inspect those books and inspect your stock. And someone who obstructs a police officer or someone who prevents a police officer from actually performing that aspect of his duty can also be arrested and charged for those offenses. So the offense of discharging fireworks, as I said before, we look at 2 pieces of legislation. So under the Summary Offences Act, we treat with discharging within a town. So one section tells you you can discharge firearm within a town, but only under the condition that you have from the police authority or authorization to do so. So within a 2-mile radius of any town, and I want people to understand this very, very clearly, within a 2-mile radius of any town, if you have to discharge fireworks or use, let me use the term, if you have to use fireworks, you must have the approval of the police. How do you do that? You simply go to your divisional headquarters, make a request 48 hours before that event or that request to discharge those fireworks, and the police would give you directives in terms of how, when, and where those fireworks should be used. And again, this is intended to treat with the issue or find the balance with the issue of allowing persons to make use of fireworks because the law provides for it. And of course, those persons who are in danger in relation to the discharge or the use of fireworks, like the elderly, the sick or infirmed, the newborns, and animals, as we speak about very, very often tonight. In relation to the point on animals, remember, as the police service, this is not something that we are not, that is strange to us. Within the organization, we have horses. Within the organization, we have dogs. And you would see very often on parades, in particular Independence Day parade, which I'm certain that most of us would have at least seen once in our lifetime. And when the national anthem is being sung, we would hear actual explosives being discharged in the background. And you will see the animals jumping because of the stress it creates on the animal each time. And just as the doctor would have said, some animals, they treat with stress differently. So I guess this is why the legislation was framed in this particular way, to safeguard those persons who cannot or those persons who are affected by the use of fireworks, and at the same time allow those persons who wish to engage in the use of fireworks and give them a bit of leverage. So we just spoke about the use of fireworks within a town. So let's talk about the use of fireworks outside of a town.
Before you go on, Inspector, can I just ask, you mentioned that that persons have to seek permission from the police or the divisional station.
Yeah, the superintendent in division, senior, yeah.
The superintendent to discharge the fireworks. Do you all get a flood of requests for this or no? Because I'm willing to bet that most people do not seek that permission.
And I would loosely say yes, I want to agree with you in terms of your position. And it's something as an organization probably we need to look at. I don't think as an organization we treat the discharge or the use of fireworks the same way we would in terms of other offenses, like, you know, those serious offenses like a break-in, a robbery, a murder, that kind of stuff. But of course, it's still an offense, and because it's an offense as police officers, you know, our vision is to make every place in Trinidad and Tobago safe. That still forms part of our remit, part of our duty. And we have, what happens, I should say, is that where we have reports of persons discharging fireworks and they come to the attention of the police officers, those police officers whose duty it is to patrol the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago, we dispatch those officers to the various locations. Yeah. And just wrap your mind around this thought. As an example, we mentioned Diwali night quite a bit tonight. On any particular Diwali, and you have numerous explosions in relation to fireworks throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. I know it's highly impractical or possible that we can really treat with all or every single instance of discharge. Okay. Now, where we have, and even with that, remember the police officer still has the average report or the average crime to treat with. Now, I'm not trying to say that we do not treat with it, because that'll be far from the truth. I am saying, however, there are obstacles and there are hardships in relation to how we as police officers treat with the issue of the issue of fireworks. Yep. So going back to the point I was making with respect to the use of fireworks outside of a town.
Yeah.
The law provides for the use of a fireworks outside a town anyway beyond 60 feet from the center of a road. So within a town, you can form the opinion that yes, you can discharge your fireworks within your home and that kind of stuff, or within an open space or somewhere that is away from the center of the road. And I guess the reason for having the center of the road, again, is to offer that safeguard to persons who may be in distress. Of course, I love the examples given by the doctor in relation to the safeguarding of animals. Because, as I said before, the law is exactly what it is. What we can do is find ways to treat with our hardships or treat it with our circumstances under the present conditions. So if you have animals that are stressed or you suspect that they may be stressed, I encourage you, do all that you can, all within your power, to ensure that you put every single system that you can in place so that those animals would not be stressed. Now, continuing on the point of fireworks safety. The law provides, again, for who can be sold the fireworks, and we advise as to who can discharge or use fireworks. I think last week, Fire Officers Rogers and Arjun would have touched on it briefly in terms of if a child is using fireworks, that child has to be supervised. But in relation to the law, any person who apparently is under the age of 16 years old cannot be sold fireworks. And I'll go back to the point again. If you are an authorized wholesaler or retailer, you can sell fireworks. But selling of the fireworks has to be on an authorized, or should I say, the location where you sell that fireworks has to be consistent with your license. So if your license gives you the authority to sell it at one uptown mall, and there's no such place I'm hoping, then the only place that you can sell that firework is that location. If you were found selling it to uptown mall, not just you for breach of the conditions of your permit would be charged, but the occupier of two uptown mall can be found liable for permitting such activity. And if, of course, if they have an excuse or justifiable reason why that was permitted, probably as an example, it was done without their knowledge, then they go before a magistrate and explain that defense to a magistrate, and as they say, hope for the best. Yeah?
Yes. Thank you very much for that little bit of clarity. And I see we have a comment from the police service who says on our Facebook page, in recent times, the TTPS has implemented liaison officers with our 9 police divisions to specifically address and respond to animal-related offenses and reports.
You know, Inspector, I would say in a perfect world, we wouldn't have these issues, but now with the amount of firearm-related incidents in Trinidad and Tobago, I want to believe too that people use the guys under the guise of fireworks to commit some offenses to with firearms, because they almost sound alike. You know, some of these discharges from these fireworks, and sometimes they can't tell the difference. I mean, you're a police officer. I'm being in the military. You know, we were trained to recognize certain weapons when they are discharged, right? And you know, last years, Natasha and I listening to we were outside and the guys close by were discharging their fireworks, and I am saying, but wait a minute, is that I getting old, or you know, I can't tell the difference now between fireworks and an actual weapon firing, because they almost sound similar. And I this is why too, you know, in these communities, I would like to impress upon the police. They one night I thought they were going to get caught, but what happened? The police came with the blue lights flashing, so the guys had time to take evasive action, and the police gave away their position. I say sneak up on them, take off the lights, and once you get pinpoint where they're discharging these fireworks from, take off the lights and sneak up on them and arrest them, because, as I say, you never know, you know, if these are firearms are being discharged or actual fireworks.
Now, two things. I am of the opinion that when this catch bomb was something that persons could have had in their possession, or discharged, that sounded a whole lot more as if, you know, or you could have been confused between the sound of a scratch bomb going off and that of any regular firearm being discharged. Of course, there are some fireworks that would give you similar sounds, but the scratch bomb being taken out of circulation lawfully or used lawfully, it helps us a whole lot in relation to that aspect of our conversation. In relation to the comment made by the TTPS as it relates to the animals, is it?
Yeah, the liaison officers.
Yes, liaison officers. I also want to inform persons that based on your conduct with the discharge of that firework, and it amounts to animal cruelty, you can be prosecuted. Again, based on the conduct, on what you do. So we'll take these circumstances as they are. We would look at the circumstances, we'll look at the actions, and if they amount to a breach of the law, that person, based on the actions of that person, once we can find the evidence to prove it, we would take that person before a magistrate to answer a charge. And the charge for animal cruelty, that is a hefty one. That is $100,000. So persons, I advise you, think twice. Think twice.
All right. Let us bring the fire officers in now. I know that you guys are patiently listening, Mr. Arjun and Mr. Rogers. Is there anything that you would like to add to this conversation about fireworks?
And Inspector, feel free to jump back in anytime you feel necessary,
Sure.
okay?
Thank you.
to Mr. Arjun and Mr. Rogers, thank you very much for your patience and sitting and listening to us. And let's hear your thoughts on what you heard so far.
Okay, good night. Good night to you both, Garth and Natasha, Inspector Mackenzie, Jude Rogers, the listening and the viewing public, and Mr. Garth and Ms. Natasha. I'm hopeful that the 1.3 million persons that we have in Trinidad and Tobago are tuned on to your program tonight, because I have listened to what the police would have said, and I'm not going to dwell back into that. With respect to the fire service, we will more look at the safety aspect of importation, transportation, storage, distribution, sale, and use of these fireworks. So in a nutshell, yes, it is legal to import fireworks in Trinidad and Tobago. That permission is granted by the Ministry of National Security, the Minister of National Security. The Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service has a responsibility when that application is referred to us to ensure that those fireworks imported are stored in the proper manner to prevent any accidental fires, to prevent any damage to property, injury to persons. So the wholesalers will have their warehouse where they will store these fireworks. The retailers, on getting that authorization from the magistrate in the local district to retail fireworks, also have to store these fireworks properly, handle it properly, sell it in a safe manner. The Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service would give guidelines to the retailers of these fireworks outlet, and these guidelines are to ensure that safety at all times are maintained. So we're looking at basically that whole process of importation, storage, and resale. But what we realize from the legislation also, it is really appealing to the persons to really use this responsibly, to consider not only the safety as it relates to injury to persons, but also to these animals, the vulnerable community. As we see that all animals, from our research, they are saying that almost all animals are affected by these loud noises, these noise firework. The birds, the wildlife, we're looking at horses, cats, dogs. And I want to say thanks to Dr. Straker for giving us some control measures, some safety measures, some things that we can apply and assist the animals in preventing or assisting them through this trauma. So it is legal at the moment to sell fireworks in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have to appeal to people to responsibly use this. But I could quickly share, before Jude come in, I could quickly share some of our research in other countries around the world. For example, the National Fire Prevention Association, that's an international body in America that sees about codes and standards, right? They formulate codes and standards to ensure that our built environment are as safe as possible. The NFPA does not subscribe to consumer fireworks being sold. What I know, in America, certain states ban the use of consumer fireworks, and they would more allow what we call public display. Public display that are done by authorized, competent pyrotechnician. It is done in a safe location, the safety distance, that the public will be away from this, what we call the firing zone, will be adequate to prevent any, let me say, acute or chronic effect from the loud noises that fireworks make. The fallout may also be within very safe zones. So they advocate for public display. Yes. I know in Trinidad and Tobago, we also have public display that are done really at Independence time, New Year's, Old Year's night, and so forth, right? And these display are really being done under controlled circumstances. Both fire and police are involved in the planning and the assistance and the supervision of these public displays. But I really empathize tonight with Mr. Amit, Venus, and Dr. Straker with reference to their concern for, the other forms of life. I will tell you, I have a pet at home, and I would see that little dog when those fireworks start to burst, how she behaves. We will bring her inside. Sometimes she run under the bed. My wife give her a tablet. I think she said that the pharmacist give her that tablet. The kind of trauma that she will go through. But yes, I've read on incidents with animals being traumatized by fireworks. Right?
Now, Officer Arjun, you said something really interesting there, and let's go back to that legislation. So what you're saying is that no private company then can set up by the side of the road and sell fireworks to the public. It's only authorized bodies that are allowed.
This is based on the NFTA's guidelines, yeah?
The NFTA's guidelines. This is based on that. So which means then it's only the fire service are allowed to put on fireworks display.
Okay, that reference was really in United States of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are their laws. Those are their policies that they would have for fireworks, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, we have retailers of fireworks. They go to the magistrate court and apply for a license to retail fireworks, as the inspector was saying. And they now sell that fireworks to members of the public. So members of the public could access fireworks and use it, hopefully responsibly, during the period. So in Trinidad, it's different. I was just highlighting to you some of the examples that we have in other countries.
Yes, understood.
Control and use of fireworks.
Yeah, hopefully we will get to that place very soon, because it's not. I don't think the position right now that we're in is tenable. Too many people are experiencing harm, and I think. Because it is such a lucrative product, very much like alcohol and other drugs, we encourage people to use it responsibly, but do they? Most people don't. So you wanna go on to the
for Officer Rogers, if you had anything to add to that.
Okay.
Yes, Officer Rogers.
Yeah. Mr. Rogers, you with us still?
Rogers look frozen.
He looks like he's frozen.
Inspector, you wanted to add anything to what you just said?
No, I'd just like to endorse what Mr. Arjun just said in relation to the opportunity for retailers to obtain those licenses. So again, it just, you recognize that the role of the fire service and the role of the police, they're very aligned, just that one ensures the safety aspects of things and one ensures that the law as it relates to the use, sale and distribution is complied with. So any person that arbitrarily decides to sell fireworks would be in breach of the law. There are certain guidelines that you must follow in relation to the license, and for the most part, the most basic of those guidelines is the place in which you operate and what you are permitted to sell. Okay?
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. Thank you very much for staying with us, those of you on Facebook and YouTube. In coming up, we have a couple of demonstrations from the fire service on safety in your home, and that keyless. I'm interested in seeing that. That Mr. Rogers will present, and we have Inspector Steve McKenzie with us. And we're going to try our best to compact this so that we can get some calls from the public too if you have any more questions for the inspector or the fire officers. All right, so Inspector, Mr. Rogers, you wanted to jump in here?
Yes. Right, so going back to good night to everyone. Sorry for the little freeze up there, but good night to everyone. Just for expediency and time, I'm going to go directly into it. So the officer Mackenzie and Officer Arjun would have dealt very, very directly with the legislation that relates to fireworks and how we should handle and manage that. But I know that this program is geared directly to addressing the issue of how a firework affects not only human beings who are unable to respond to the loud noise levels, especially when they're not well, but also to the pets, those around us, our animals, which are not able to speak back, but we see the reaction and the pain and the hardship that they go through.
Yep.
And of course, our animals support us. And I can imagine not only that, but we can also look at persons who would rear animals for, let's say, for production of food. And they may be in close proximity to city limits and so forth, and they too are affected adversely.
Yeah.
So it's a very important factor that you all have brought forward, and something that even us as fire officers must now take additional cognizance to. And so we now must address some of those issues. And so I think that this is a very good learning curve, not only for the members of the public, but it also brings about a sensitivity on the parts of the officers that are here representing. So now we can represent for you when that time comes, because at some point in time, we're going to have to look at the legislation as we have to upgrade all of the pieces of legislation which have been brought to Trinidad and Tobago. Let's say the Explosive Act may have been brought before the 1950s. And so now, because when you read that act, it speaks about gunpowder.
Yes.
You think back now, most of the fireworks that we have is packaged in a more modern way, and the use of gunpowder, they use very different chemicals as it pertains to that now. So I'm saying that there would be a need for an upgrade. And when we look at the upgrade, we will have to take into consideration the impact that it has on not only human beings, but also on animals.
Gunpowder, that was in Davy Crockett time.
Exactly.
All right. So you want to take a break now, Garth, and we come back with the fire officers and the demonstration?
Yes, and of course, Inspector Mackenzie will add to what he just heard. So, folks, you can join us for these demonstrations when we come back after this break. Stay right.
And we will take your calls after that. Yes.
With Garth and Natasha, reality radio at its best.
Ah boy, feel like I'm gonna buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
This Christmas season, here are some fire safety tips that can save your life. Check extension cords for visible breaks in the insulation, which can expose the internal wiring. Refrain from overloading individual electrical circuits by using extension cords and adding multiple outlets. Do not run extension cords under carpets or across doorways. Use UL listed extension cords and decorative lights and follow all instructions provided. Do not use interior lights outdoors. Green tags for indoor use only and red tags for outdoor use. Refrain from cutting off fuse protective plugs or decorative lights, which is a safeguard. Do not connect more than 3 decorative lights per electrical circuit. Use insulated hooks to hang decorative lights. Unplug all decorative lights before bedtime or leaving your premises. Remember, fire safety begins with you.
I am Stephen Clark. I am a justice in the Ontario Court of Justice in Toronto, Canada, and you are listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you for staying with us. And Officer Rogers, we come straight to you. You sent us this. Could you explain what we are about to see? Could you tell us?
All right. So basically, what we have been doing in the fire service is trying to address that whole issue of persons being trapped in their properties as a result of burglar proofing, and the fact that there are solutions, there are viable solutions, but you have to plan, prepare, and practice for your escape. If you do not plan, if you do not prepare, then the outcome is going to be a very negative one. So we're not going to wait until there's actually a fire for us to procure a measure that is an alternative for us to escape from our buildings. All right, so the series of videos, it's a 4-part series. I believe we would have sent 3 parts of the series for you today so that you can take a look at what happens when a person is actually trapped in their building.
Okay, right. So, Hinkson, let's go with the first one.
Yes, be careful.
Honey, I think I'm going to start to cook, yes, because these children must be hungry now, right? Okay. Oh, shucks. Oh. These plugs, oh my gosh.
Hey, Richard, hey, come from there, come from there.
What's going on in here?
Oh God, I should have fire extinguisher, boy. What would you do if this happened to you? Dial 990 in case of fire emergencies and always have a serviceable fire extinguisher ready and available at all times.
Right, so officer, before we go to the other demonstration, what fire extinguisher we would have at home, either because so she dropped some water in an electrical, and there's people who want to have more than one, about 5 or 6 appliances plugged in on a bar.
At the same time.
Yes. What fire extinguisher I think we should have for this?
All right, so the fire service is recommending what easy way to remember it is called the ABC Fire Extinguisher, or the Dry Chemical Powder Fire Extinguisher. And the reason why they call it ABC is because it handles classes of fires which involves material that falls under Class A, wood, paper, plastics, Class B, flammable liquids, and Class C, electrically energized equipment or gas or fires of a gaseous nature. And so because it handles most of the 5 types of fires that there are out there, we are recommending that particular extinguisher.
Okay, good. So if you want to see these, and these are first time I'm seeing this, and this is well done. Thank you, Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Let's go to the other demonstration, please, Hinkson. Officer Rogers, you could tell us, introduce this one. Okay.
What's the number?
Fire emergency, good afternoon. You said the building is on fire. Are there any persons trapped? 4 persons. What is the address of the call, ma'am? Number 4, Candy Drive, Pier Road. Can I have your name, please? Miss Bihari. Thank you, Miss Bihari. I'll be dispatching an appliance. Central Control from Fire Control. Central Control, have a plans and crew. Respond to our residential fire. Same is at number 4, Candy Drive, Pier Road, Trigonas. 4 persons are trapped, 2 adults, 2 children. They were unable to make contact with fire service, so she called on their behalf.
Loud and clear. Operator, Central Control, 3-4.
Create an evacuation plan for you and your family and practice your escape. Always ensure you have more than one way to safely exit your home. Your lives may depend on it.
I didn't notice that the officer grabbed a chicken before
He did. I mean, this is a serious issue, but it was very interesting to see what actually happens in a fire station. the iron, pumping iron and grilling chicken. Interesting.
The boy make sure I take a piece of the chicken before you leave.
Natasha, what we did was we took a scenario and we gave you a little synopsis of as to what actually happens. But we had to put a little spin on it too, and to give a little, humor to it as well.
Yes,
right, so
yes.
I want to put a disclaimer that the fire service does not leave a barbecue pit unattended.
Right, of course.
The fact of the matter is that the fire stations normally would have a canteen, and there's cooking is done there in a safe and a controlled manner.
Yeah.
And
Right.
not everyone that responds to a call leaves. All of the persons don't leave station. There are other persons that remain to manage the facility when we leave to go on a call. But
Right.
the seriousness of the matter is how quickly the fire service responds when we receive a call via our fire control, how we dispatch our appliances, and the fact that members of the public are in danger, and we treat with that with a seriousness. I want the members of the public to be aware of that. And I'm hoping that at the end of the third video, we can get some persons to call in and we can dispel some of the myth that is associated with the way that fire service responds.
Yeah.
And saying that because a number of videos are coming into public domain. Remember, every citizen has a camera now. And so you may see fire service response for 30 seconds, but you did not know what happened for 5 minutes prior to the call. And this is where we, the fire service, are beginning to tell our own story, and we are beginning to put things in place so that we can show members of the public what it takes to be able to respond to your fires and your emergencies.
Right.
Yes,
So let's go to the other video.
Before we do that, Alison has a question. How often do we need to service extinguishers? And what is the average cost of one of those ABC extinguishers?
Right. So if I may interject, a service should be done. A visual inspection of your extinguisher should be done by yourself once per month. So you should inspect it monthly. But the actual service, which means you have to take it back to a service provider who is a responsible or an approved service provider, should be done twice per year, every 6 months. All right.
Okay.
However, if you are working in an environment, and some industries, they have environments where they're exposed to hazards, you may even do that on a quarterly basis. All right?
All
So
right.
it all depends on the environment which you expose that. And if you're an industrial plant, obviously it will take quarterly. You're at home, maybe annually for your home, or every 6 months. So again, you have to, once you utilize a fire extinguisher, it must be serviced. So that once you use it, you are not to put it back on the rack and think that you can use it again.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
some part of that extinguishing medium would have depleted and it needs to be replenished.
Right. Let's go to the other video.
Attached it. Again, I do not advertise to any of these companies, but nevertheless, because the average cost of a fire extinguisher is between $300 to $500, that is to the ABC fire extinguisher. The other types of extinguishers may go up in cost because they are specialized types of equipment.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So before we run, let's go to the other video, Hinkson.
Fire service! Hello, fire service! Anybody in here? Fire service! Yeah, we're right there! We gotta go! We're right here! Okay, take him! Let's go! Come on, let's go!
Thank you for saving me. You're my hero.
Together, as we face the challenges during the new normal, always remember that fire safety begins with you.
Oh, that was too sweet. I love that.
Right?
I love that.
So the sad reality of sometimes what can be the outcome may not be what we saw here, where the members of that family were able to be rescued. Sadly, 20 plus persons annually lose their lives as a result of fires that can be avoidable, and also fires that, even though they occur, those persons should have been able to make a very easy exit, but are being hampered by burglar proofing, which does not allow for that person to just simply open and exit. Again, our focus is on crime and keeping the bandits out, but not necessarily creating a means by which we can safely exit our properties, exit our homes. So for that, the fire service is recommending that we utilize and we install and we plan and prepare by installing quick release burglar proofing in our homes, in our businesses, affording us an opportunity in the event that the doorways are obstructed, hindered by fire. You have an alternative measure, and that is going to save lives, ladies and gentlemen.
And the quick release burglar proof, how does that work?
All right, so what we've been able to do, and I have to apologize because that particular video, I was not able to get that one loaded for you. So I'm going to send that to you all at a later date. How that works is a design, and there are many designs. So we did our research. The New York Fire Department, they have 4 designs, but in Trinidad, we've been able to put our hands on one of those designs, and we actually had a citizen from Sandy Grande that came to the fire service and volunteered his expertise, his years of experience in that particular field of developing burglar proofing. All right, and Mr. Gabriel from Sandy Grande. And what we did, we with open arms, we partnered and we looked at what he was doing, and we were then able to present that prototype. So what he designed was a burglar-proof window, which does not allow you to break the glass from the outside and get to the key, the locking device. But from the inside, without a key, you can simply turn the deadbolt or pull the release latch, and you are able to exit through that particular window. So those videos we would send to you, and we would make those available to you and members of the public. Each of the fire prevention departments within Trinidad and Tobago have those videos and have those designs, and it can be afforded to members of the public. We're also going to be going to our other stakeholders. We're talking about the Manufacturers Association and those types of organizations, and make representation so that they can adopt such policies as well. Because if we can get the burglar-proof makers and the window makers, the larger companies, to adopt these measures, it means that most of the homes, the new ones that are coming on board, will have at least a quick release burglar-proof into their design. And that is what we're looking for.
If you're just joining us, folks, you're listening to Dependency, and we have Inspector Steve McKenzie with us from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and Assistant Divisional Fire Officer Acting Lauchan Arjun, and Fire Sub Officer Rogers, giving us some really important information. Let's go, Inspector. You have anything to jump in here quick before we go to Mr. Arjun?
In relation to the issue of fires, the role of the police service is very, very different to that of the fire service. In this regard, we look at what criminal offense probably would have led to the fire. So every instance of a fire, we have police officers. One officer will be designated the investigator. There are steps to be followed. He would ensure that the proper protocols are followed, and those expert technicians or expert persons would do the necessary. And at the end of their deliberations or their recommendations, if we have evidence where someone or persons can be found culpable for any act that may amount to a criminal offense, then charges can be preferred against an individual. If there isn't, then the same information is normally chronicled and recorded as an occurrence. So we still have a role in relation to every fire as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Thank you very much for that, Inspector. Mr. Arjun, we have the Hinkson, can you go to the first picture on Mr. Arjun sent to us, which is a smoke detector or fire heat detector? I don't know which one it is. He will explain. So, Mr. Arjun, can you tell us this first image here that Hinkson will put up? What kind of detector is this? If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency and Fire Service and Trinidad and Tobago Police Service with us this evening and giving us some really vital information, and we really thank them for the opportunity. We thank the Communications Department of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for providing Inspector Mackenzie and giving of his time here this evening, and also Mr. Arjun and Rogers. So, smoke alarms to save lives.
Yes, smoke alarms save lives. And as last week, what we have said that this is one of the fundamental fire safety device that we want every home to have, a working smoke alarm. We are Trinidadians. We could remember Calypso's, right? Penguin would have sang a song some years ago. I see Natasha is smiling. Natasha, you know the name of that song?
We living in jail?
Something was essential.
Oh, the deputy.
Okay. Yes.
Now, we in the fire department say a smoke alarm, a working smoke alarm, and a working fire extinguisher are essential for the home. So this device, as it will activate once smoke enters the chamber. One of the first product of combustion or a fire will be smoke. It will give an early warning. And on the picture, you would see test smoke alarms monthly. Change the battery every year. Replace older smoke alarm. Some smoke alarm will be manufactured for a 3-year, 5-year, or 10-year period. Right? Know the sound of the smoke alarm. Are you all seeing me at the moment?
Yes, we are.
Good. This here is a smoke alarm.
Right.
This is the battery for the smoke alarm.
The square, the rectangular.
What you need to do is to put in this device here.
Right.
And once the battery is fully charged, this smoke detector will give at least 8 months working lifespan with the battery. And this is the sound that a smoke alarm will give. It will start off and then it will increase in intensity. I think it's around 80, 85 decibel normal for the human to hear.
Right.
So just imagine you are sleeping in night, what this device could do. And we would have said last week, research would have shown that smoke alarms save lives in a fire condition. Yes. Smoke alarms save lives in a fire condition. So we are employing members of the public. Every resident should have working smoke alarm. We could place smoke alarms on different levels of your home. If you have a 2-story building, we recommend that you have smoke alarms on both levels. Ideally, we can place smoke alarm in each of your bedroom, or command to the bedrooms outside in the hallway. Do not put the smoke alarms in your kitchen and in your bathroom, as it will give false alarm through the smoke that may take place from your cooking operation. Yeah. Right? You can install a smoke alarm in your living room area also. Right? If you have a 2-story building and you have an internal staircase, you can put a smoke alarm at the head of that staircase. So these are just some areas. It can be mounted directly in the middle of a wall, or on your ceiling, in the middle of a ceiling, or if it is wall mounted, it is about 6 to 12 inches from the ceiling. And the other graphic will give you an idea of the placement of the smoke alarms.
Lovely. That is, thank you very much for that demonstration.
We will share these images on our Facebook
we will
page
share
as
them
well.
too on our page as well.
So,
and right, so we have the other. You wanted to tell us about in another frame the fire extinguishers.
Good.
We have water, foam,
yes.
Dry powder, CO2, wet chemical, and another powder, M2. Oh, right. Right. So could you tell us about the...
Good. And last week we would have also touched on it, and Mr. Rogers would have given us a quick recap on it. So basically, there are different classes of fire, and fires is we look at it on the material that is burning. To simply put, so a Class A fire will be ordinary combustible material, wood, paper, cloth, as dry grass, as you can see, right? A Class B fire are fires involving liquids and liquefiable solids. So liquids such as gasoline, kerosene, margarine, butters, oils, and so forth. Then we have Class C fire, which are energized electrical appliances, fires involving energized electrical appliances. Class D fires are fires involving metal, sodium, potassium, you name it. But those will be more found in the industries and so forth. And Class K fires are fires that involve what we call commercial kitchen oils, like in the KFCs and the restaurants that have a large volume of cooking oil. Once fire is involved in that type of material, we consider it as Class K fires. Now, while we have different classes of fire, we have different types of extinguishing agent and extinguisher, because not all extinguishers will be ideal for a particular class of fire. For example, on your energized electrical appliance, we will not want to use water. We can get electrocuted. We will not want to use water on a hot pot with oil. That will cause explosion. It will cause fire spread. It could cause injury also. So the multi-purpose extinguisher that Mr. Rogers would have spoken about earlier, that is suited for Class A, Class B, and Class C fires, multi-purpose. So in your home environment, you may get either of those fire conditions, those fires taking place. And as a result, a multi-purpose dry chemical extinguisher is ideal for your home. Your carbon dioxide type extinguishers are ideally suited for your energized electrical appliances, your computers, your electronic equipment, and so forth. Carbon dioxide is a clean agent. Oxygen will support a fire. Carbon dioxide will suppress that fire, right? Then we have other types of extinguishers, such as extinguishers that contain other chemicals or extinguishing agents that will be appropriate for the class of fire. For example, for the other classes of fire. For example, your metal fires, we use special purpose dry chemical powders on metal fires. And in the kitchen area, we could use your Class K extinguishing agent, your Class K extinguishing agent. So in a nutshell, we just have an idea of all the classes of fires and the different types of fire extinguishers, and which one will be most suitable to be used to extinguish the respective classes of fire. I hope that I clarified that for you there.
Yes, very comprehensively so. Thank you very much, Mr. Arjun. So the number to call, we want to open the lines now, 622-3937. 622-EYES is the number to call if you have a question for any of the gentlemen we have on the line this evening. Inspector Mackenzie and Fire Officers Arjun and Rogers. They did share some very valuable information. And if you have a question for them about fire extinguishers, about smoke alarms. I know that you mentioned last week, Mr. Arjun, about the heat alarms that you can use for your kitchen. Could you just describe what that looks like for us? Yeah.
And you can take some calls in the meantime too. You could call us 622-3937.
We have someone on the line already.
Oh, okay. So Sergeant, before you answer that, let's take this first question you have a question for the police or the fire service? Go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening. Garth, Natasha, the producer, the guest. Thank you so much for all the information. I was just wondering if Officer Arjun would be able to shed some light on how to detect a defective gas tank. It so happened this morning I changed my gas tank and couldn't discern whether I was hearing a hissing sound or what. So I turned it off, because I say, I know that they were coming today, so I thought I would ask, because if you buy a tank, how do you know whether it's defective and can you return it? How can you deal with that? Because this thing near to the stove.
Yes. Thank you. Very great question. We'll have him answer that for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll listen off air.
Okay, doke.
Okay, bye-bye.
Mr. Arjun or Mr. Rogers, who wants to take that? Gas tank safety.
Okay, I could quickly talk on the LPG gas tank safety. And there is a responsibility for the purchaser as well as the supplier of these products. For example, the gas company have a responsibility to ensure that that cylinder, maybe the 25-pound cylinder, the 100-pound cylinder, as the case may be, that it has to be in good condition. That it has to be, the hydrostatic test must be done. And I think that the hydrostatic tests on those tanks are done every year. Those tanks have a lifespan. Some company will tell you 15 to 20 years. And after that, they have to go out of service. So I know the companies look after those aspects of safety. You, the purchaser, have to ensure that you do a visual inspection of that tank. Make sure it appears or it is in good condition to your eye. Make sure that the regulator, the valve that is on the tank, has that O-ring, that rubber O-ring, and that seal, that red seal on the tank, it is on when you are purchasing it. When you take that tank to your home, ensure that your regulator, what we call the gas head, is properly attached to that gas tank, that valve, that the on-off system is working properly, that your hose line, your flexible line from the gas tank to the stove is in good condition. If there is signs of any deterioration, you should change it. We recommend that it be changed annually or on visual inspection if you find that it is dry rotting or so. Sometimes we may push a stove to a corner and that line may kink and get a slight tear, and gas could escape from that. So yes, you as the purchaser also have a responsibility to ensure that you purchase a good product also. So it's a shared responsibility between the supplier and the consumer. And then safe cooking practice is also important to prevent accidental fires in the kitchen. I hope I have answered that question.
622-3937, 622. I know one test they was recommended too, that you take some soap water and put it on top of the head, and if you see bubbles, then you know that it's leaking. You know, if you see the bubbles visual, yeah, you know that it's leaking. So that is one way to test it too as well. Hello, good evening, caller. Hello.
Hello, guys.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, just a moment.
Could you speak up, please, and turn off your radio? Remember, you're speaking with Inspector Steve McKenzie from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and fire officers Arjun and Rogers. Good evening again, caller.
Yeah, good evening, Garth and Natasha and Inspector. And
welcome, sir.
Now,
good evening, sir.
Now, I wanted was to go a little earlier on the question of the scratch bomb and the firework business.
Yeah.
But I will still do that anyhow. Listen, Garth and Natasha, as you all would know, I believe that the inspector mentioned a lot of laws with the fireworks, pertaining to fireworks. But I could tell him something. In neighborhoods, the ordinary neighborhoods, people at the sidewalks, all along the Eastern Main Road, sit down on the side of the walk selling fireworks, and it's nobody's business. You understand what I mean? And another thing, God, this Trinidad and Tobago is not an animal-loving society, you know.
Correct.
True.
We are not an animal-loving society.
True.
Because I know in New York, 2 people get what they call it, compensation for the pet, and after that, the government said they're not paying any money, so they ban it, you know. They ban it. Fireworks must only assemble by the waterfront on the Hudson River. Other than that, people have to go to jail. We had to change the laws in this country here. We have to change it. Because you see, people losing pets. I lose 2 dogs across the highway. From the time they bolt out the fence, straight down the road, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you know, And people love the pets, and it's nobody's business. You report it a waste of time. We need the laws in this country need to change with pets and the fire. You see that scratch bomb business? We had to have stringent laws for that. Some people are to get locked up. It's nobody's business. Every year, that next year, please God, I shock. You're going to be carrying on this program same way again.
Yeah.
Every coming to Christmas and all years, we go with the same way, and the laws remain the same way. People not changing it for reasons unknown. Thank you.
Okay,
right,
so
thank
you very much.
And just to mention our comment from Roger on Facebook, he says there's currently revised draft legislation on fireworks before the cabinet, and he suggested the AG might be able to shed some light on where that is. We have another call.
622-3937. Hello, good evening. Inspector, you can respond in a minute, right? Good evening.
Sure. Yes, good evening. Very nice program. I'm listening to it right now. I want to ask a question. In other countries, schools, they just have like fire guardian, like fire people come in and they have they put certain people from the different schools to oversee a fire, and like you teach them in case of fire, take it in a classroom, and they were the one to actually do the evacuation and things. Is it possible that the schools could have those things in Trinidad?
Good question. We'll let the fire officers answer that in a moment.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, you're welcome. All right, 622-3937, and we just have about 5 minutes, so let's go to the inspector quickly. Inspector, you want to respond to the last caller?
Yes, good afternoon again. Just the issue with the scratch bombs, we spoke about this earlier. There are laws in place with respect to the use of scratch bomb. It is prohibited, so you should not have scratch bomb in your person. You should not discharge or make use of scratch bombs. It is an offense to have scratch bomb. In relation to the other issues he spoke about, in terms of the fireworks aspect, programs like these, Garth and Natasha, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service thanks you, because it helps inform members of the public as it relates to the laws governing the use of fireworks. It helps those persons who are ignorant of the fact in relation to the undertakings and the legality of their undertakings. So it may help them guard against committing offenses that probably they're unaware of. And there's a saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So now you are advised. And also, even our law enforcement colleagues, it helps bring that awareness, or should I say, re-engineer that awareness to the fore, so that we can treat with issues in relation to fireworks. I keep saying firearms. In relation to fireworks. So thank you again for programs like these. It helps us on a multi-level scenario in relation to how we begin to fix this problem. And again, I want to reiterate the point that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service can only act based on the laws that we have in place. So only when the laws are changed by virtue of the parliament, or is challenged in the court and the legality of it is changed, only then can we act differently.
Thank you very much, Inspector. Officers, Arjun and Rogers, the gentleman asked about fire guardian in school and teaching fire drills and all these different things.
I'm sure that the fire service does that kind of outreach. But
As Alison Solandi said, they do frequent fire drills in New York. She said, in fact, one is expected at my school tomorrow. And this is somebody out in the US saying this. So, officers?
I would take this one. Definitely the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, our outreach program definitely focuses on the school, because we recognize that once you get to children at a very early age, you are able then to change the culture as it relates to fire safety within their minds. And so they will be the adults of the future. And if they have that safety culture inculcated into their everyday activity, it means, therefore, that they will take that into the future. They will, wherever they go, they will also think fire safety. What we would hope for is for this to become part of the education or Ministry of Education curriculum, because right now it's still very much a voluntary thing. It's still very much something that the schools would reach out to us, we would reach out to the schools, But if it becomes a mandatory element within the schools, it means therefore that it will be taught in the schools, and the fire service could reinforce that via demonstration, via outreach programs, and also via the content that we will provide for the education department.
Well said. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Shortman, you could put up image I, please. We want to say happy anniversary to our batch. Mr. Arjun, you wanted to add to that?
Just quickly, that the fire service also conduct inspections of these schools to ensure that they have safety measures in place. We also conduct fire safety lectures with the staff and students at these institutions. Schools also have school safety officers in Trinidad and Tobago that we train in evacuation procedure. So yes, we will assist the school in developing their evacuation plan, selecting and training their fire wardens, allowing their fire wardens to know what to do in the event of an emergency, know their duties and responsibilities, and also we supervise fire drills at the school and other institutions. Under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, that is one of the fundamental requirements for premises that will require a fire life safety certificate. So yes, we engage in that type of training, evacuation planning, and fire drills in our schools and our industrial establishments. Thank you.
Perfect.
And before we go, gentlemen, I just want to say congratulations to the batch Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service batch 1992 celebrates its 29th anniversary since being inducted to the first Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. This batch consisted of 73 men and 30 women. There were 3 squads, A, B, and C, everyone trained at the Chaguaramas Fire Station, while the Mova Fire Station was used as the dormitory for the women. This batch included the first intake of women into the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, which initiated the change from the title fireman to firefighter. This batch of 2212 to 2314 presently boasts of having a couple of officers act in the position of Assistant Divisional Fire Officer thus far, with many supporting as leaders in various departments to those who are no longer with us in person. Rest in peace. And this is just to say congratulations to this batch.
Yep.
Batch 1 of 1992. Congratulations, folks, and continue your good service to the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Happy anniversary. Happy 29th anniversary. So, closing, gentlemen, once again, you all did a fantastic job. Inspector, closing remarks from you. We have the Anglican hour coming up next. Inspector, closing remarks.
Well, thank you very much again on behalf of the Acting Commissioner of Police. I wish to say thank you for the opportunity that we can share the information. And again, I want to remind Trinidad and Tobago that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is here to serve you. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we would continue to do our very best to serve our nation. To the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, we also say thank you very much for your continued support over the years, and we look forward to working together with you over the coming years. Thanks again, gentlemen.
And congratulations to Mr. Jacob, Christopher, and Mr. Williams for being approved for their positions. Well done, folks.
Indeed.
And continue your good service to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Officer Arjun and Rogers, closing remarks.
Well, on behalf of the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Arnold Bristow, and the executive officers and all the officers and men of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, we want to say thank you to I-95.5, I on Dependency, for giving us this opportunity to interact with the public. We understand the importance of safety. We want to work with you all to reduce accidental fires, injuries, and we have seen tonight if we could contribute in the discussion of firework safety, we'll do so. I want to wish everyone, on behalf of my family and I, a very merry, safe, very, very enjoyable Christmas. We practice what the health authorities are telling us with reference to this virus, this pandemic that we are facing. Thank you, Mr. Jude.
All right. I want to say thank you again to the team at I-95. You all have done yeoman service, and I realize that it's a hard-hitting program. So I want to give kudos to you all for really coming forward, because without these opportunities, the fire service and also the TTPS, we may sometimes lack that opportunity to get onto programs such as these. So again, thank you to the TTPS, Officer Mackenzie and his team, and members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I know we all have a family member who is a police officer. Also to my organization, the organization that I represent, my Chief Fire Officer, Officer Bristow, and members of the executive. We are so thankful for this opportunity. And if we can touch just but one life, if one person gets the message tonight and is able to make that difference and to save a life, then this, what we would have done here, would have been well worth it. So I thank you.
Yes.
We give God for all things.
Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I mean, this has been very informative for us, and I'm sure for all of those tuned in on the radio and online. And we hope to touch base again in the new year as well.
Yes, we have Fire Prevention Week as always, so we have to. Yes. And then remember, next year, please God, we're celebrating 6 years of independence. So we have a lot of work for you guys still, man. Yes. Police service, all arms of the protective service, right? And so thank you once again, gentlemen. Merry Christmas to you and your family. God bless. Take care. Good night. And of course, Ms. Johnson from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Comms Unit and all the others, ACP Archie, and we want to say God bless you all. Keep safe. You know, continue to serve your country with distinction as you've been doing. We love you all very much. And to you loyal fans on Facebook and YouTube and on I-95.5, we say God bless you. Come online with you all next Sunday. It's Boxing Day, so
yes,
just come online with you all right?
So have a safe and hopefully a silent Christmas for those of us who,
Yes. Gentlemen, God bless you all. Take care, right? Bye-bye. All right. And folks, thank you too. Up next, the Anglican Hour. They're ready and waiting to go. So once again, have a Merry Christmas. Yes?
Yes. Good night.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good night, folks.
Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Reality radio at its best. The #1 name